So basically, we will have a basic understanding of Excel, how Excel works, because only when you understand how Excel works, then only you can play with it. So we'll have an understanding on how Excel works, what is an application, what is a workbook, what is a worksheet, what are cells or ranges. And then we will understand how we can use developer tab, how we can enable it, what are the different windows that are available in the Visual Basic for application layout. So let's start with this. Let's have a basic understanding of Excel. So when we open an application, when we go to start menu and go to Excel, it opens a window. Basically, it opens a blank window, and then you go to, so basically when I close this, yeah, this is an Excel application. So you don't have any workbook open. This is called an application, Excel application. And yeah, so you can make multiple applications if you want in your computer. So if you simply go to run and type Excel, it will create another application. So you can basically see another application being opened. Right. Just open one more. Yeah, so now you've got a blank workbook, which is actually a workbook. So an application is an Excel application. Workbook is a workbook within the Excel application. Now, if you look at this one, you can see sheet 1 over here. You can create as many sheets as you want. So these are called worksheets. So you've got application, workbook, worksheets. And within each worksheet, you've got cells. So a combination of multiple cells are called ranges. A single one is called a cell. And each cell has its own notation. These are all very basic things. I hope many of you might be knowing it. But I still want to start from the basics because it is very important that we start from the basics to play around with it, right? So each cell has got its own unique identification. So this one is called M9. So any cell has got its own identification. Now, if you want to change its identification, it is possible. You just go over here and change to something. So it has got a new name, that is something. Anytime you type something, it will go over here. So I'm clicking somewhere here and then typing something, it goes to there. So that cell is actually named as something. Now, next thing, this is called a range. More than one cell. I've selected more than one cell. So it's basically from G4 until G13 I've selected. And I can name it new range. Right. So G4 to G13 is now named as new range. So that entire range has got a single name. Now, if you go here and type new range, it goes to that. So I hope it's very clear now. So there's an application. So it's like from universe, you go to the solar system, you go to the Earth, you go to your country, you go to your state. So it's basically going inside. So basically application, workbook, worksheet, ranges, and cell. So I hope it's pretty clear. Now, each cell has got different attributes. One, you can type anything. It has got a text. Now, it has got something called a font. You can change the font. Now, it has got something called other attributes like bold, italics, underline, color. So this is the color of the cell, and you've got the color of the text. So it has got different attributes within a cell. So that's another thing that I want to mention. Now, let me start with, so we have basic an understanding of what is Excel, what are the different worksheet, workbook, what is a cell, what is a range. Now, let me start with VBA thing. So actual VBA thing, how can we create a VBA? Very basic VBA. Right. So first thing is, we would need to enable, right? we would need to enable the developer tab. So most of you might not have this tab available, and it's not necessary that you always have to enable it, but it's a good practice that you can access anything over here. You can insert buttons, etc. from the developer tab. So I'll come to all those things, but first thing is you need to enable developer tab. So you might not have a developer tab in your Excel if you have not used it before. So for that, you go to options and then go to customize ribbon and then tick here. So you might not have a tick. So this will be how your Excel look without a developer tab. So go to options. If you want, you can note it now. Options, customize ribbon, and then tick the developer. So you get the developer tab. Now, okay, so that we are done with the developer tab. Now, how do we go to VBA application? How can we write code? Where can we write code? What are the different windows over there? What are the different panels that are available? So how to go to Visual Basic application? So one way to go is go to developer tab and then click on Visual Basic. This will open the Visual Basic application window. Another option is press Alt F11 on your keyboard. Alt and F11 will open the Visual Basic window. Another option is right click on the sheet and click on view code, which will actually take you to the Visual Basic window. Now, let me talk about Visual Basic window. I go to Alt F11, I've opened this. Now, if you go to view, you have got, so usually when we code, there's always this debugging, there's always this, we want to see what is a variable value, etc. So basically environment variable, what is it taking the value, etc. So we usually use, we usually use immediate window, a locals window, and a batch window, right? I'll just enable locals window and batch window. Just click on it, it'll get enabled. Simple. So now inside a VBA project, as I already mentioned, this is a VBA project. Inside that we have got Excel, which is our Excel, and we have got all the sheets which is there in our Excel file. So once we delete one of the sheet, so let's say I'm deleting sheet 1. Sorry, I'm deleting sheet 1. It goes off from here. So basically, you can see whatever is in Excel, you can see it here, right? Now, we can create a code within a sheet. If you double click the sheet, it will open up. We can create a new module to write set of code. Now, what's the difference? When you write it in the sheet and say you delete the sheet, the entire VBA code goes off because you are writing it within the sheet. How I went to VBA. Okay, how I went to VBA, I can explain once again. It's Alt F11. Either you can press Alt F11 in your on your keyboard, or you can right click on the sheet, go to view code, or you can go to developer tab and then Visual Basic. I'll explain everything, right? Yeah. So now you've gone inside this VBA application, and I've got the locals window, I've got the watch window, I've got the immediate window, and I've got properties and VBA project. So VBA project is where you can see all the tree of our Excel file, how we can create module, all these things. I can explain all this. Right. I don't want to save. No. All right. Yeah. So I'll explain all these things when I start writing a program. So this is a basic thing, how we can enable all the windows. Now, this is where we are going to write our code. All the code that we write will be here. Code will be written here. Code will be.
Sorry, Jithin, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
One guy is asking from development menu how you went to VBA. He missed it.
Sure. Yeah. If you go to developer, you've got Visual Basic. So VBA is Visual Basic for applications. Visual Basic for applications. So you have Visual Basic here. You can see the shortcut also, Alt F11. Click on it, it will go there. I hope it's very clear, right? Now this is where we write our code. Immediate window is a debugging window. You want to check anything, you can do it in the immediate window. So how do we do that? You put a question mark and then write the code what you want to see the result. So say I want to see 2, I'll get 2. Now what is 2 plus 2? Get 4. So you can basically do that in the immediate window. Basically debugging anything, you can do it in the immediate window. So if you are stuck somewhere, you can put a code over there and get the result in the immediate window. I can explain locals window and watch window later when we write the code. Okay, I hope it's clear up till now. I've gone really slow. If there are any questions, please try to put it in the Q&A because that'll be easy for me to read. Right, okay. Now, I'll explain about these properties over here. So these properties is actually the properties of whatever we select over here.
Jithin, sorry again.
Yeah.
One guy is asking how to create module. Can you please explain?
Yeah, I'll explain that. I'll come to that soon. Right. I'll just explain this. So properties window basically gives the properties of all these, whatever we select here. If you select sheet 2, you can see the sheet name and all the other attributes for the sheet. Right. Now, a little bit in here. It's a good thing to know. So in Excel, you've got options to hide a sheet. So you can basically hide any sheet you want. And then if you go to unhide, you can see that sheet here. So the same thing, the very same thing can be done with VBA as well. So if I go to sheet 2, I've got the visibility option here. And here I've got 3 visibility options. One is visible, one is hidden, and the other one is very hidden. And this is used widely to hide a sheet from our Excel file. So if you look at this, the name of the sheet is sheet 2, and I'm going to hide it. Now the property of sheet 2 is sheet hidden. Now if you go to Excel, the sheet is hidden, and you can right click, unhide, and unhide the sheet. Hope that's clear. Now, if I go back and check sheet 2, it's visible now because we have we used an unhide option in our Excel. Now, if I go and do a very hidden, now the sheet 2 is very hidden. You cannot see sheet 2 here. And if you go to unhide, there's no option to unhide it. So basically, to unhide that, you need VBA to unhide it. So this is widely used when you need to create a template and you don't want anyone to mess it up. So I can show that as an example. I've done one of the example for one of my client. I can show that example how I done that. And this is very widely used when you want to use a template, right? Okay, so that's clear. Now you can change the sheet name. So every sheet has sheet names. So there are 2 different sheet names now. It's going to be a little tricky now. I'll make this sheet as name, and this one as address, this one as phone number, right? I've got 3 sheets, name, address, and phone. And if I go to VBA, you can see sheet 2, sheet 3, sheet 4, sheet 5. And sheet 2 is not visible in our Excel. Right. Now, if I go to sheet 3, I've got the internal name of the sheet as sheet 3 itself. So the internal name of the sheet is not changed when you change the name of the sheet outside. And how is it important? Any person, so once you create a Excel VBA script and give it to someone, anyone can go and change the name of the sheet. And if you change the name of the sheet, you don't want really to mess up your code when you change the name of the sheet. So that's where the internal name of the sheet helps. So sheet 3, the internal name of the sheet, I can change that to another name. So that has got another name, sheet name, right? So you can change the name of the internal name of the sheet as well, and that can be used in your code whenever you want. And that, so basically, if someone goes here and change the name of the sheet to first name, this will not affect our code because we will be still using sheet name. So I hope it's clear. Or if you want me to explain once again, I can do that. So a sheet has got 2 names. One is a name that we give to the user who is using the Excel, and the other for the developer who can use the internal name of the sheet. So that helps, whenever the user changes the name, we don't have to worry about it. it's still, the code still works. So that's one advantage of this internal sheet name. You can see all the sheet name remains the same, even though the name of the sheet is changed in Excel. So I hope it's very clear. Right. Now, what are the different options that we can use? Widely used. I'm not going to take, I'm not going to cover this class module now because it's pretty complex and advanced. So I'll be covering user form and module. What is a user form? I'll cover that. What is a module? That also I'll cover. Now, I mentioned that you can write the code here, but what is this? And where does this belong? If I click this, you can see a small highlight, gray color highlight over here on sheet 2. So basically this code, whatever we write here, belongs to sheet 2. If you double click on sheet 4, if I double click on sheet 4, it opens for sheet 4. If I double click for sheet 5, it opens for sheet 5. Now let's see what happens if I write on sheet 2. I'll just enable this visibility to 1 so we can see it in the Excel, right? So I'm going to write some code here, right? So I've written some code sorry, I'll write in sheet 2, some code here. I'll delete all the other, right? I don't have a code in any of the other sheets. I have the code only in sheet 2. Now what happens if I go and delete the sheet over here? The entire code that you've written is vanished. So we write the code within the sheet only when it is necessary. The reason is if someone goes to sheet and delete it, the entire code that you've written is gone. So whenever we need to do a programming, we always do it within a module. Now, how do we create a module? Right click on the project window and then go to insert, click on module, project, right click, insert module. You get a module. Now you can code it here. If user deletes any of the sheet, it is not affected. The module still remains. Somshegara, can't find. Could you please explain? What do you want me to explain? Is it a new module? Usually when we insert a module, we see general tab to write coding. Could you let me know how to get immediate lockers, watch options for that? Okay, yeah. So I can just close this and show you how to get immediate. So basically double click on module. You are in the module. Go to view. Locals window will open the locals window. View immediate window will open immediate window. View watch window will open watch window. And you can, yeah, basically align it. Right. Yeah. So I've now created a module. I've created, there are four different 3 sheets and a workbook where I can write the codes. Right. Now, let me start with a module. I'll just try to split the screen. Let me know if it's visible clearly. Satyajit, is it visible? Can you read it what I'm writing?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Right. Sure. Yeah. Now, I'm just trying to do a very simple code, just to print from 1 to 10 over here. I understand you can do it in Excel by simply writing 1 to 2 and then drag it to 10. But let's start from the basics. Now, before starting that, let's learn more on the. Okay, I'll just go to the next slide so that we are clear about the concepts. Yeah. Now, in VBA, we have got, as in all different languages, we have got data types. In VBA also, we have got data types. But VBA gives you more flexibility. It has got a data type called variant. It actually can take any value. So that is one pro and a con, because it consumes, there can be a lot of different mistakes when you use variants. For a normal, regular programming practice, we should be sticking to data types. Now, as in all the other languages, we have got string, we have got integer, we have got double, we've got long. So we've got all the different data types. We've got arrays that we can use. All this I can cover. Then conditional statement. If you're familiar with programming languages, all of the programming languages will have a conditional statement. If something is true, do this, else do that. Or if this is equal to that, then do this. If this is equal to another one, do another one. If this is equal to another one, do another one. If nothing is that, do another one. That is what case statement is, select case, right? So that's the conditional statement. And we've got loops, for loops, while loops. Usually we use for loops and while loops. It also has got do while loops. And we have got go to statements where it can actually tell to go to a different line and execute. That's also there. And like in any other programming language, we've got error handling as well. Now, in VBA, we usually use a subroutine or a function. I can explain both of it. A subroutine is a normal practice where we can create a set of codes and execute every time. And a function is the function where you can write and use it within Excel. I can tell you that also. So function is basically, as everyone knows, function is a reusable set of code that we use. So we create a code and use it everywhere. So that's a function. And as I mentioned, I can cover the arrays as well. So I'll be starting from basics. Let's see how we can write small code in Excel. Right now, I've got the Excel window open, and I've got the VBA window open. And if you see, I'm writing it in the module 1. So when you write in the module 1, you have to explicitly mention which sheet you are doing. If you're doing in the sheet, you can simply write the code and it will understand that it's going to use that particular sheet. I can go deeper in that, but let's start with a very basic code now. I'll just answer this question. Can hidden files be unhidden by non-authors of the sheet? Hidden files can be unhidden by anyone who has an access to VBA. Right? Don't we have to select sheet name? Okay. So if you double click on this sheet, it goes to the code of that sheet. So simply double click on it and it will go to that particular. So I have double click on my module. Now I'm going to write it in module. I'll explain what is option explicit after a little while, but let's start with this very sample. Very sample code. Right. I'm going to write a code and then I'll answer your questions after that. So I'm going to write a subroutine. Any subroutine, as I mentioned, there's only subroutine and function that we use predominantly. Then we are starting with a subroutine. So subroutine starts with a sub. Then you write the name of the subroutine. Let's write my first subroutine. And then you have to use an open and close bracket if you're not using it. And if you're not using it, so basically I have written sub and my first sub, and then I'm pressing enter. VBA has written end sub and the open and close bracket by itself. So it understands that you are writing a subroutine and that's the name of subroutine. So it does everything by itself. I'll just show it once again. Sub, my first sub. And then I'm pressing enter. So it does this by itself. So it has got that intelligence to understand that you're going to write a subroutine. You don't have to write end sub. So basically a sub when it starts should have an end sub at the end. So you're going to write all the code in between those two lines. And VBA is not right. Yeah, and VBA spacing is not a problem. You can write however you want. Spacing is not a problem at all. So I'm going to write the small code where I'm going to print 1 to 10 in first name sheet. Okay, I'll show you different ways of doing it. So to print 1 to 10, I need a for loop. I hope everyone understands how a for loop works. For loop will iterate through all the all the numbers between 1 and 10, and then executes it. So I'll write a for loop here. If anyone want to write it down, you can do it, or you can refer the. Satish, are you going to share this recorded video?
Yeah, it's everything
right.
is recorded.
Yeah, right. I'll just write a for loop. It starts with 4. Now next comes the variable name. I'll take it as I. Variable name I equals 1 to 10. Very simple English. For I equals 1 to 10. It's simple English. Now any for statement should end with the next statement, next I. And it is not mandatory to put an I after next, but it is good practice put I after next, because you understand that you're closing that loop over there. When you write multiple for loops, you might get confused, because there'll be multiple next statements. So I is not mandatory here, but it's a good practice to put I. I hope it's clear. So now we have got 1 to 10 and I. Let's see if it works properly. Now, how to see it if it works properly? We can print the output in the immediate window. How do we do that? We use debug dot. So basically, when you put a dot, it will show you what are the options that you can print. Debug dot print I. So this will basically print out all the I's in our immediate window. Now let me try to execute. You have the run command over here, or you can press F5, or you can go to run and press F5. Run option. So when you run that, you can see the output has come in the immediate window because we have used a debug.print. I hope it's pretty clear. I'm going really slow. Okay, now we need to print 1 to 10 over here in the sheet. How do we do that? We have to mention where we are going to print it, which sheet we are going to print it. So there are multiple ways of doing it. I can show you all different ways. One is we can simply mention the internal sheet name. So it's his first name and the sheet name is SHTNAME. You can write SST and then name, and then put a dot. It'll bring all the options that is available for that particular sheet. You can see there are plenty of options that is available for a sheet. Now I've got the sheet name. Now where am I going to put it? I'm going to put it in the cell. And where does the cell comes? It is inside the sheet. So sheet name dot cells. Now basically there is a lot of cells. So we call it cells. Now within cells, we have to specify which cell we are going to write. So open the bracket. It clearly shows what is it required next, row index. So we need the row number, and the row number is from 1 to 10. That is basically our I. So we are going to put I over there, and the column index is 1. You can put 1 first column. You can either put 1 or you can put A. Both works. Now what are we going to put in that? We are going to put I inside that. So equals I. Right. So I'll just run it. You can see the values are here. Right. In VBA, it's not case sensitive. Nothing is case sensitive. You can use a small I. If you use a capital I here, it'll actually convert it to small I. So doesn't matter. So if you're using another capital I over here, all of it is changed to capital I. So it takes care of all these things. So don't worry about it. It has got that intelligence to correct you. Right. So that's one way of achieving it. And the other way of doing it is I'm just copying this. As I mentioned, you can do this. Okay. Now, in any programming language, you should know how to comment a line. So basically, commenting a line is basically removing that line from the code. So how do we do that in VBA is a single quotes. If you put a single quotes in the beginning of the line, that line is actually commented. Now let's try this out. So this is in the sheet, in the cells, for each I, that is from 1 to 10, in the first column, put I. So 1 to 10, for each row, put I. Right. I'm executing it. You can see it has come over here. So this is another way. Now I'll show you the third way. This is actually calling the name of the sheet. So it's sheets. There are many sheets, and that we can put the sheet name, which is first name. Now got the cells, and then I, 1 equals I. I can explain. So we got many sheets, and we are going to use first name sheet, and then we are going to use cells, and for each I in the first column, put I. Right? I'll just delete this and then run this. Sorry. The thing is, I've clicked it outside, so that's why it is asked which one to run. If you click it inside, it not ask which one to run. So now it has come from 1 to 10. So that's another way of doing it. Now, what is the disadvantage of doing it? If somebody goes and changes the name of the sheet, it's all messed up. Let's try this. First name, we'll change it to last name, right? And then delete this and try to run it. You are messed up. So basically, it says subscript out of range. It cannot find the sheet name, first name, and your code is actually messed up. Now I'm going to comment it out and uncomment this one and try to run. It still works. So now I hope it's very clear what is the advantage of using an internal name for the sheet, right? Okay. Now, how do we learn VBA? What are the different options that are available in VBA? What are the different keywords that I need to use VBA? These are the basic questions anybody would have. VBA is a self-learning language. You can learn it yourself. So how to learn it is basically, see, I cannot tell all the keywords that is there in VBA, all the different options that are available. So there's a little bit of self-learning also required here, and it's really, really easy. The code is written in pretty normal English. If you read it, you can understand the code. So just to start with how you can access different things, you click on here, or you click F1. It'll open up the Microsoft window over here. Yeah. Now if you go to Excel VBA reference over here, all right. Now you've gone to Office Excel. Okay. Now you can search whatever you want. So you've got plenty of different functions, all details, worksheet, workbook, everything is available on this page. Anything you need, if you go, let me just take an example. Worksheet function. Okay. So I want to understand what is a worksheet function. So it actually tells you what it does. It gives you an example of what it does. I'll cover all this, but I just want to give you a sense of how it works. So you can actually try this code and try it yourself, how it works, etc. So I just want to give that at this point, because there are a lot of different keywords that we use in any programming language has all the keywords, which I cannot cover in a single session. So I'm just telling there's a lot of self-learning that you can do with VBA, and it doesn't impact anything. It's just an Excel file. If it messed up, just delete it and create a new one. Simple. Now, how can I write a simple code to color this one? Say I want to color yellow. How can I do that? So for a beginner, you've got an option to record the macro, and the record macro will actually help you to understand how it works. But recording a macro has got its limitations. There's a simpler way to do it. There's an efficient way to do it than recording a macro, but I can explain that. Now let's try to put a color yellow in this particular cell. All right. So how do I record the macro? Let me just increase this. Increase this, right? I'll just remove this module. Do you want to save? No, right? I'll just delete this. Now, if you go to developer tab, you've got the record macro option here. Click on it and then write the macro name. I'll just keep it as it is. All right. Now I'm going to click on cell A1, go to home and then color it. Done. Go to developer, stop recording. Now, if you go to Visual Basic window, you can see a module created. I hope you remember that I've created the module which I created earlier. Go to the module, you can see the recorded macro. The name of the macro is macro 1, and this is what it does. Now let's try to understand what it does. So it says range A1 select. Pretty clear. It is asking to select the range A1. Now, what will happen if I go to, I'll just change this color back to white, or I'll just remove the color. Now, what will happen if I go here and run this macro? So it's actually not changing the color of last name. It's actually changing the color of the address. So something is wrong with our recording. Yeah. So recording works from the point where you were in the initial stage. So that's how recording works. If you change it to a different sheet or a different Excel, the recording will mess it up. But it is a beginning where you can start to learn how it works. Now, let's try to understand this code. It says range A1 select. So it's asking to select range A1. Now, what happens when I go into this page? It is executing range A1 select. So it goes and selects the range A1 because it is not saying which sheet it belongs. It just says range A1. There's no sheet mentioned here. That's a problem why it has colored in the different sheet which we have selected. Now, so first line is clear. Now, what happens with end with and with? With and end with is an option where you can write multiple codes for a particular object. So we have actually selected range A1. Now, selection means whatever we have selected. So selection is actually range A1. In range A1, for the interior object, it is asking to change all these parameters. So it is asking to change the pattern to solid. It's asking to change the pattern color index to automatic, color to 65535, which is yellow, then tint and shade and pattern and shade, etc. Now, how can we write our own code, similar code, to change the color of last name's cell A1? Let's try it out, right? I'm going to write a subroutine. So you can write how much of a subroutine you want in a particular module. So I'm going to start a subroutine and I'm calling it test, enter. It creates a parenthesis and ends up. Now I'm going to write a code where I'm going to put the color in cell 11 of last name, of range A1 of last name. So cell 11 and range A1 are both same. So range is multiple cells, but when you say only one cell, it is basically again a range, but a single cell. So first, I'm going to mention the name of the sheet. So that is sheet name. Then I'm going to mention the cells 1. I'm going to mention the object interior. You can see it here, interior. Now I want to change only the color, which is 65535. So in the sheet name, cells 11, interior color is 65535. Let's try it out. It has changed the color. Now let me change the color back to something else, green. I'm going to address sheet, changing it to green again, right? And then executing the code which I have written. It is done. If I go to last name, so basically it has changed the color of the last name cell 11. I hope it's very clear. So a macro recording has given you these many lines, which you can actually do it with one line. Again, you have got restrictions here that it will work only on the particular active worksheet. So this is a starting point where you can use this code to create your own optimized code. That is a very starting point where you can write and understand and try out different things. I hope that's clear. If there are any questions, feel free to ask now on this. So basically, I've explained how you can record a macro, how you can use that macro to write your own code in an efficient manner. And I understand this is very basic. This is just the starting of it. But I want you to, in subtest, did we mention sheet name in specific? Yes, this is the sheet name. You can see it here, sheet name. Why writing the code in module? Why not in a particular sheet? Which I've already explained. If you delete a sheet, the entire thing is gone. And there are different other things I can explain. So yeah, I can explain why you should not write a code in this window. Okay. How can we get color codes? Very good question. You can search it online, you'll get it. Or the other thing is record a macro. Simple. You can use the immediate window as well. I'll show you how to get the color code. So let's say you want, I'm going to color some violet color, right? You want the color code for this, right? I can use the immediate window, question mark. Immediate window should start with a question mark. Now I've selected this cell. Make sure you have selected the cell. Select the cell. Now go to the immediate window and then type active cell. So that is a selected cell. Interior color. So that's the color for violet. Why have I written says 11? Okay. I'll just copy this and I'll just copy this bit from here and then paste it here. These two are the same things, if that makes sense. So this is a range of cells and this is also a range of cell. A single cell is also a range of cell. And these two are the same thing. Cells 11 is out of the all cells, what is the first, what is the row, what is the column? 1 is A1. Yeah, color code numbers, you don't have to memorize all the color codes. You can actually go and search in Google. You'll get all the color codes which is available. And you can basically do this thing as well to get it very quickly. You can just, so basically if you go to yellow and then enter again, you'll get for yellow. If you want it for blue, select blue, go here, enter again, you get the color. So basically you can get, how did you record the macro? Go to developer tab. You've got, I'll just expand this. Developer tab, you've got record macro. Can we use last name instead of sheet name? I mentioned that already. Can we use last name instead of sheet name? You can mention like this, sheets of, sorry, I've got a UK keyword. Last name dot range. You can use cell A1 also. It's the same. Range A1 dot interior dot color equals 9. So it changes the color to black. After using the module, if I delete any sheet, then how to recover the sheet? You cannot recover the sheet. Once you delete, it's gone. Right. Now, okay. Yeah, let's not go to very advanced things. Yeah, so I can explain. I don't want to show it because it takes more time. Why not write it in a sheet? One thing I already mentioned, if you write in a sheet and delete the sheet and the code is gone. Next thing is, when you write a code in any of the module, usually when you deliver it to a client, you don't deliver an open code. You basically put a password and lock it. You go to right click, VBA project properties, protection, and put a password and lock it. Lock project from viewing and put a password. Now, once you put the password, no one can see or edit the code without having a password. Now, what happens if you write in a sheet? If somebody copies that sheet to somewhere, actually, it's fun to show. I think I can show it. Right, I'll just save this to one of the folders. Save. Okay. All right. Before that, let me explain this as well. So when you save the Excel file, if you want to save the macros, you need to save it as a macro enabled workbook. If you save an Excel workbook, which is an XML based, it will not save your macros. So if you want your macros to be saved, it should be Excel workbook, or it should be binary workbook, or it should be 97-2003 workbook. So 97-2003 workbook is an older version of Excel. 97-2003 version of Excel. It has got its limitations. So be very careful when you convert to 97-2003 workbook. It has got lesser number of rows, lesser number of columns. So if you have a lot of rows and columns in your original workbook, you're trying to save it to 97-2003, you'll lose data. So be careful when you save it as 97-2003. I would say save it as Excel macro enabled workbook if you want the macros to be saved. So now I've got, I think I've saved this file. Right, I've saved this file now as right. I have the folder here. Yeah, so I've saved this book too. Now let me put a password for this, and I'm going to put this bit of code just for an understanding in our sheet 4, which is called address. I'm going to save this now. Putting a password now. 123 locking. Okay, now saving and opening it again, opening the Excel workbook again. Right, so this is how you will deliver your workbook to a client or anyone, because you don't want your workbook to be messed up. Whenever you open a macro enabled workbook, you have to enable the content. So once you enable the content, if you go back, if you want to go back to the code, we'll go to Visual Basic. You can see it is locked. Now, without a password, you won't be able to edit anything, right? But I've put a bit of code in address, right? Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this, move or copy, and then going to a new workbook, create a copy, opening it, right? Now I've got, if I go to Alt F11, now it will show two things. One is our protected one, right? And the other is our new one, where I've moved the, now you see what has happened, right? So it's a little hack. I would say if a code is written in the sheet, you can actually try to get it without knowing the password. It's a little bit of, I would say, can call it a bug.
Please repeat, sir.
Sure. Yeah, right. I'll just close this. So I hope it's clear up till the point where I've put the code, right? Or do you want me to explain that as well? Yeah, so yeah, it is very clear. So yeah, right. So if you open multiple Excel, you'll see multiple projects here. I think I've not explained that. So once you open a new Excel file, I'll press Ctrl N to open a new Excel file. And if I go to VBA, you can see that. But this is a protected one. This is an unprotected one where we have only one sheet. We have nothing in it, right? Now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to move this address. Right click, move or copy. This is basic, very basic of Excel, how to move a worksheet. And then which workbook you want to move. I want to move to book 1, move to end, create a copy to create a copy of the sheet because you don't want to mess up your original file. Now, if you go to VBA window, go to your sheet 4, which is address, you can see the code. So if you have a confidential code written on your sheet, it's not actually confidential. That's it. So those are the two reasons why you should not write a code in a module, right? Two very important reasons. Now, right. Now let's understand much more on how to do VBA code. I'll just go to, I'll put the password 123. I'll remove the password so that we don't have to type it again and again. Right. Okay, now let's try something more. I'll just, sorry. Right, now we have understood how to write code 1 to 10. Now let's try to understand how to write code 1 to n. N is any number the user gives as an input. So that's our beginning, right? So you can, again, I'm starting to write in module 1. Or if you want me to show how to write a code in phone, I think that will be best. I'll write a code in phone. So I'm double clicking it, opening it up. Subroutine, test 1, enter. Now, to mention this sheet, you can use me dot, means I'm referring to this sheet, right? In 365, I've not tried it. Probably they might have updated it. Good then, right? Yeah. So me dot. If you're not completing it, it will give you an error. If you click somewhere outside, it will give an error. But you can click OK and go and write whatever you want. So me dot will give this particular sheet that we are going to write the code inside. So we are writing the code in phone. So me dot will refer to that particular sheet. Now let me try to write a code. For loop I equal to 1 to 10. This is what we have written earlier. Me dot cells 1,1 equals I. So I'm just changing it to cells to range, just so that we are using everything in our code in our class. It's the same. 1 to 1 and range A1 both are the same. A1 next, right? So this is a code where it will print 1 to 10. Sorry, me dot A. Okay. All right, A. Okay, I'll explain this a little bit later. I'll use cells itself. I comma 1. Now I'll run it. Okay, now I got 1 to 10. Now how to get 1 to n? Right. So 1 to n is you write n here. Now we need to take n from input, n equal to input box. Input box. That is how you get. Then it asks for prompt, give prompt, enter n. Enter n. If you need to give a title, you can give a title. My title. You can change it. I just want to show you. Right. If you want to give any default values, say I want default values 10. Give that. And I said indentation is not a problem in VBA. So I got input box. This is the so it basically asks the user what is to be entered. Enter n. This is the title of the box, and this is the default value. Let's try to run it. So it says my title, which is the title of the box. Enter n is the message that is given to the user, and this is the default value that is entered. Now, if I want to change it to 20, I can change it to 20 and say OK. It will print up to 20. Right now, how do I debug it? So after this point, I want to see what is the value that the user has entered. How do I debug it? So you just go to the left over here and click over there. So it actually puts a pointer over there. And when you run the code, it will basically stop there. Now, if I run the code, you can see, and the user has put 30, said, OK, it stops the code. It actually did not run after this. It stops the code. Now, if you look at, I'll just expand this. If you look at the locals window, you can see the local variable that is used. We are using n and I, and now n has got the value 30. I is empty because it is not executed that line, right? So now let's try to execute it line by line. So you've got an option to run line by line, step into, or F8. You can keep pressing F8. So F8 will step into the next. So it has executed this line. Now we have got the value for I as 1. You can see here. And you can see the data type is variant. I said variant can take any value. Here also data type is variant. It is string. You can take any value. I'll explain you how to create, how to make it the proper data type. And you see 30 is given as a string and not a number, because whenever an input is taken from the user, it is taken as a string, not as a number. But when it is passed to a for loop, n will automatically gets converted to a number. So it has got that intelligence to convert it. You don't have to explicitly typecast it to a number. Now you can keep pressing F8 and it will, okay, I'll just delete this so that it's pretty clear on how it comes. Now, okay, this is a locus window. Now I'm keep pressing F8. So, sorry, F8. So that line is executed. You can see the number 1 has come in A1. I'm keep on pressing F. Now, if you look at the locus window, the I value is 2. Now it has gone to the next line. I'm going to execute it again. So you execute it. So it's basically running in loop. You can actually execute line by line in VBA and see where the error is coming if at all you want to debug, right? So, and again, if you want in between, you want to print and see what is the value of n, you can do that as well. So this is where immediate window also comes into picture. If you want to check any value that is not there in your locus table, if it is being referred from another global variable, it might not be available in locus table. So you can try that and get the value over here in the immediate window. So yeah, now I'm going to proceed with the other steps. I just click continue, and then it prints up till 30. So this is a very beginning of Excel of VBA. Now let me explain how to mention data types explicitly. So as I mentioned, I'll just go here. I'll run it again. Okay. Now you can see this is taken as variant and this is taken as an integer, but both are showing as variant and type. Now, how do we say what is the data type of I and what is the data type of n? So you can use a dim and then mention the variable I and then say as, say integer. So it will okay. So now I'll run, say okay. You can see the type is integer. So now I've told the program that I is integer, and now I can say n is integer. What happens when I say n is integer? Let's try it out. So yeah, so n is also taken as an integer, not as a variant. Variant can actually take any values. It is good and bad because sometimes variants can take an object. So say as a word itself, it can create as a variant and store it in a variable. But if you use the same variable as a number somewhere else, then you are actually messing it up. So that is a problem if you are not actually declaring it as a integer or a object. So there are different things. Okay, then it has got as string, as object. Yeah, I can explain that. Yeah. So now I'll go to a next level. So basically, Excel can be used to open Word, to open PowerPoint, to open Outlook, to open Internet Explorer. So Excel can be used just not in Excel. It can actually integrate with other Microsoft applications as well. Now, before I go to that place, let's try to understand more on Excel itself, and then we will go to I'll explain all those objects and all when I go to next level. Yeah, so let me try to explain more on VBA within Excel, and then we will go to the other applications. Right. I just want to see if I'm covering everything. So yeah, _else I'll cover now. Go to I'll cover now. And cover now. Right. Okay. All right. Let me take a small data set and try to do something, and I'll explain what I'm trying to do in between. I'm going to take this Titanic data, which is available in Kaggle. You can actually go and search for this Titanic machine learning from disaster. You can get this data, which is available here. I just downloaded the train. So basically, I've got the file here, right? Now, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to split the names. Okay, I want the last name. So if you can see, it has got a comma everywhere. So yeah, it has got a comma everywhere, and right. Let's try to do it. I've not done it. Let's try to do it. And get first name last name, right? So this will be a perfect example how we can split the name to first name and last name. So please note it down. We are starting with D, and we are going to put in M and N. Okay, we are not going to change anything on D. We are going to create new columns M and N. Now I'm going to use VBA within this sheet. So just go to view code, and yeah. Now I'll talk about option explicit. What is this? I've enabled this in all my sheets. You can also do that. I think it's somewhere in tools options, gender. Let me check. I really don't remember where I put it. Option explicit. I forgot where I kept it. Let me Google. I don't remember it because long time Google. Okay. Option explicit. Enable. Menu visual basic editor, require validation, editor tools, options. So I went. Oh yeah, require. Okay, it's here. Right. Require variable declaration. What does it mean? I can explain that when we do this code, right? So I'll just close the local window, which I'm not going to use it right now. I'll use it whenever we are encountering any problem. So I'm keeping this option explicit. How does it come automatically? If you go to tools, options, and tick this require variable declaration. If you tick it, when you open a new, so if I open in this workbook, it will automatically will be available over there, or you can type yourself as well. What does it do? I'll explain. Now I'm going to write a subroutine to split names. Okay, you can give any name. Split names is what I'm giving. Now I'm going to loop. So basically, let's try to understand the problem. We need to split the name with a comma. The first before the comma, the name before the comma is the last name, and the name after the comma is the first name. And we have to loop it through 2 till the last, right? I hope the problem statement is clear. 2 till 892, right? So first thing, we will try to split it into 2 different CSV needed to convert to XLS file. When we save the file, we can save it as XLSM. It's not XLSX, it's XLSM, right? So when we save file, save as test, and then save it as, instead of CSV, if you say save as CSV, you'll lose all the macros. So macro enable workbook and then save. So that's actually XLSX file. Now let's try to split the name into 2 and get the results first. So we'll try to do that first. Okay. Right. So I'll say name equals, I'm going to get it from the sheet 1, cells. So the cells are 2, 4. Instead of 4, we can actually mention D. That's also possible. It's the same, 4th or the D. Right now I got this name. Now I need to split it. How do I split? Okay, I'll create a split variable. So that's a split variable. Now I'm going to split it name. How do I split it? Right now, so we understand we need to split. I'll just start from basics. Like if you want to search and understand how it works. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, because I think this is the best way, because if you want to learn by yourself, this helps. So click on this F1 or click F1. it'll go to the search, go to Excel, goes to Excel VBA reference, click on that. You can see it has changed here. Now you type split, right? So there are a lot of different splits. These are for Access. If you scroll it down, you can find it for Excel split, right? When you go to split, it will actually tell you how to use a split. Expression.split. Not one. Let me just try to search once again. Interesting. Okay, this explains about the split on the freeze brains. Okay. Yeah, let me try to. Yeah, you write split and then open the bracket. It'll actually ask you. Excel also have a function that does the same. Excel do not have a function. Yeah, you can use a delimiter to split it. Yes, obviously you can do it. But if there are two different commas, then it is becoming a problem. So yes, but let's learn VBA right now. Obviously, there are ways to do it in Excel as well. Okay, right. Yeah, so split, now it asks for a string, which is our name. Then the delimiter is a comma. So it actually splits and stores in the variable split_var. Now we need to get the first name and the last name. So to get the last name, I'll put L name equals text to columns, yes, 0. L name is split_var. So basically split_var is an array. It creates an array when it splits, and we are going to fetch the 0th element as the last name, and the first name is the first element. Right? Now, we are not sure if it works, and we have an additional headache over here, which is option split. Let's try to run this and see if it really works. I'm going to enable the view locals window, and then I'm going to put a pointer here so that I can see the results are proper. Now I run to run. It's giving me an error. It says variable not defined. That's because I've used an option explicit. Option explicit will actually demand you to write the data type for each variable, right? I'll say name as string, dim split_var as, I'll put as variant for now, dim L name as string, dim F name as string. Right, now I have initialized everything. Now it works proper. So option explicit actually demands you to write all the data types. So that's actually a good practice where you'll not get messed up when you use different variables for different purposes. Now, it says split_var is a variant, but it is of a string type. So basically, we can actually define it as an array of strings as well. Now, I've got the name. I've got split_var where I've got 0th element, first element. I've got the last name, and I've got the first name, right? So we are sort of done with our first requirement of splitting a name. Now the second requirement is putting it back to MNL. Okay, so let's try to achieve it. So now we have got last name and first name. I'm going to put it in sheet 1 dot cells 2 comma M equals first name, and I'm going to copy and paste N equals last name. I hope this is clear up till here, right? I'm going to run it again. I've got first name and last name, right? So we are done with one. Now, how do we run for more? How do we run for more? Use a for loop, simple. For I equal to 1, 2. For now, let's try to run 10 times, right? So that for loop started over there. I'm going to next I here. We don't have to explicitly mention the data type if you're not using option explicit, right? That is true. But even without an option explicit, you can write this. It still works good, right? But I always use option explicit. That's a good practice to do it, right? Now I've used a for loop 1 to 10 and the next I. But what happens if I run it? It'll okay. The variable is not defined. Well, good. Done. I as integer. For now, I'll mention it as long because I want to use because the cases I know now it is still it is available till 892, but it can go up to these many numbers 104. Yeah, 1 million numbers. So I'm using it as a long because integer cannot take this huge value. So I'm using a long. Hope that's clear. Do we have to write last row in for loop? Yes, we will write it. Yeah. So now if I run, what happens? It will run 10 times, but whatever it is executing, the same thing is happening. Like only the second row is executed 10 times. Now, in this for loop, I think we need to change from 2 to 10 because we start from second row. First row is the header, right? I hope that's clear also. Now I'm going to change this 2. So for each row, the 2 has changed. So that is actually our I. Now this remains same. Splitting remains same. Last name remains same. First name remains same. And putting it back, we'll put in the row. Now let's try to run it again. So we have got from 1 to 9, 1 to 10, sorry, 2 to 10, we have got the results. Now we need to find for all 892. How do we get 892? Yeah, you can put 892, hard code it to 892. Yes, that's an answer. Yes. But tomorrow, the user is going to put 1000 lines. Then it will work only for 892. And tomorrow, say user is putting 5000, it will still work for 8092, right? So hard coding is not recommended. Very good, right? So how do we do it? There are multiple ways to get it. What is the last row? One way, if you know Excel, this is how it works. How do I go to the last row over here? It's pretty simple. Control and down arrow will take you there, right? Go to A1, control and down arrow will take you to 891, right? That's one thing. Now, if I press one more control and down arrow, it actually goes to the last cell of the Excel. That's the last possible cell. Beyond that, you cannot write it in an Excel file. 1 million is the last count that you can write. Now, so this is the same technique we can use. What is the technique? Control and down arrow to come here, or from down, control and up arrow to go to the last row. So we can use that. I'll try to show how it doesn't. So I'm going to put last row as long. Explain the code once again, right? Yeah, I'll explain after we complete it, right? Now I'm going to put last row. Last row equals in the sheet 1. In the sheet 1, I'm going to cells of I'll explain this. Sheet cells. sheet 1 rows count, first column, Excel app. Let's try to understand what is the value coming on L row now. I'll just stop this and run again. Sheet 1 rows.com. What am I missing it? I'm just enabling the locus window. So this is how you debug. Not I don't understand this. L row empty. Sheet 1 cells or sheet 1 rows count. Right. Yeah. So yeah. So what happens is in the sheet 1, I'm going to cells, and first is the rows. So which row I'm trying to go is the total number of rows is 1 million. So the last row is 1 million. I'm going to the last row. So that is this one. And now I'm going to press control up arrow. How am I going to do a control up arrow? Excel. One second. Right. Yeah. So we are going to Excel up. Right. Now what is happening is we have gone to down, and then I'm going up to. Now I'm going to take a row. So basically, I'll explain this once again. Try to see if the row 892. Yeah. So what is happening is basically I'm going to the total row. So total row count is 1,048,576. So when I say sheet 1 rows count, it is actually giving me that number, 1,048,000 number. So if I move my cursor over there, you can see that number over there. So that is the last row in that particular Excel file. So and this one is the column. So inside cell we'll say row column. So row is last row and column is 1A. So we are actually here at the end. Now we are trying to go Excel and up, control and up arrow. So that is what is referred by end Excel app. So it actually goes up to the last available value in column A, and then it takes the row number from there. So up to this will give you the cell. Up to this will give you the cell. Now dot row will give you the row number. So that is 892. Now what I'm going to do is just to put over here. Okay. Now, what is the other way to get it? There are plenty of other ways to get the last rows. The next one is L row equals to sheet 1 dot used range dot rows dot count. Let's try to run this. L row 892. So it basically says in the sheet what is the used range. Simple English, what a range is number of cells, used range is the entire. So if you press Control A, you get the used range. So it's the entire cell. In that entire cell, what is the last row? So basically rows dot count will give you the last row. So that's how you get the last row. Now we put the last row over here and then execute the code. So we get for entire 892. Now tomorrow, if somebody keeps another, so let's try to put additional this many, right? And then I'll just remove all the breakpoints. and then run it again. I got for all. Okay, I'll explain the code once again. Option explicit is to explicitly mark all the data types. Now sub split name is the subroutine name. All these are the data types. Name is a string. Split variable is a variant that I would because that I'm storing an array in that. LName is the last name, first name. I is the index that we are going to use for loop. And then LRow is the row that we are finding out, the last row that we are finding out. And these are two different ways that you can get the last row. Then we are iterating through to last row. And here we are using a next here, and in between gets iterated for all the rows. So we split the name. Sorry, we get the name in name variable. So that is basically row number and column D. So row number and column D is this. We get the name, split it with respect to comma, and store it in the variable split variable. So 0th element will be the last name. That is, in this case, this will be the last name, and the first name will be the rest of it. So that is the first element. Now we put it back to Excel, right? So that's it. Now, if you look very closely, there is a small glitch. And what is a glitch? If I click here, if you see here, there's a small space here. Why is it coming? Because after each comma, there is a space after each comma. So when you split, beginning has a space, and you can see there's a space for all these entries. Can you see the space? I hope it's clear, right? You can see the space over here. See, that's a space. So how to get rid of it? Simple. If you know Excel, you have an option called trim. Trim will remove it. Trim will remove the space. I'll just copy and paste this. So trim will remove the space. So you can use the same trim in our VBA. Go to VBA code. Now, when we put it back, we are going to trim it. You can also mention VBA.trim. It's one and the same, right? I'll just run it again. It is run for everything. Now you can see the space is gone, right? Okay. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 20. Pretty simple, right? You can do it with, you don't need VBA to get it done, isn't it? 1 to 20. Now 1 to 20 like this, right? You don't need a VBA to get it done. 1 to 20 like this. Now, what if you want diagonally? Yeah, split name, yeah, it'll work, yes. But trimming is always good because you never know how many spaces are there after the comma. If it's a data entry, then probably there can be a mistake. People, one person can type 2 spaces, and then another problem is if the person is not putting a space, then if you're using a split name and using a comma, it'll throw an error because it will not find that split character, right? Now, okay, here how do we print 1 to 20 diagonally? It's a very simple code, but I want to demonstrate it because you can get a hang of how to write a code. So basically, I'm going to write within the sheet. So sub test code for I equals 1 to 20. Next, cells me dot cells I comma I equals I. So it's pretty simple code. No. Yeah, so you got it done. So yeah, to get it done in no, Excel will take much longer time, but with VBA it's just 3 lines of code to get it done, right? Yeah, so that's a very simple thing I wanted to give an understanding. So you can play around different things using a small code, right? And try to understand what it does, etc. Now, let's try to do much more detailed activities using Excel, right? Now, let's say we have a sheet and there is a requirement. Okay, there's a requirement that whatever you type in Excel need to be in bold. Okay, that's a must. So if you type something, it should become bold, right? If you type something, it should become bold. So basically, how to get that done? So this is some sort of, I would say, cleansing or validation activity. Some forms you can find when you type, it should become capital letter. So sort of thing. How to get it done? How do we automatically understand somebody's typing in Excel and we need to make it into capital? How do we get it done? Let's try to understand that, right? For that, I'm going to the view code option for that particular sheet. Now, please concentrate now. Now I'm going inside a sheet. And now if I go here, you can see worksheet over here. So I'll explain once again. Go to the sheet, drop it down, you'll see worksheet. Now you've got plenty of options over here, right? You've activate, before delete, before double click, before right click. You can see a whole lot of different things, right? Now I'm going to select change, right? So that's, you can read it, private sub worksheet change by val target as range. Okay, so it comes automatically. Just go to worksheet and then go to worksheet and then select change. It will create it. You can remove this. This is not required. We need only change. So what it says is when the worksheet gets changed, right? When the worksheet gets changed, it has a target. It gives us a target as range. So let's say we are changing worksheet, then it actually gives us a target. So target is a range. So I hope it's clear from the first line. When the worksheet is changed, it gives us a target, which is a range. And I already told you a range is a set of cells. It can be a single cell also. It can be a set of cells also. For now, let's take it as single cell. All right. Now, so we have got something in target, right? Target is the change that has happened in that Excel file. That cell that has changed in that Excel file. Now I'm going to do UCase. UCase is basically making it uppercase. And I'm putting a target. So it basically what happens is now whenever the worksheet changes, the worksheet will give us a target. And what we are doing is we are making it uppercase. Now let's try to do, right? I'm trying to write my name. Yeah. Try to write Excel. Excel. Do you see that? It automatically gets changed to capital letters. Right? So that is how you make it a uppercase. Now to make it a lowercase, you can use L case. And if you type in capital letters, I'm typing in capital letters, it'll basically convert it to small letters. Right? I hope that is clear now. It's very basic. As a starting, I'm mentioning this. It's very basic. Now, what happens if I change number of cells? I'm changing a number of cells now, and it is giving an error. What could be the reason? The reason is we are converting the case of a range, right? Earlier, we tried only single cell and it worked perfectly. But when we try multiple cells, it will not work because we are trying to change. We are trying to change the. So we are trying to change the case of a range, which is actually not possible. When you try only one, for example, if I copy only this and paste it here, okay, it's a capital letter. If I copy this, okay, if I do a Control D here, it's an error. if I copy it once and paste here, it is actually changing the case. And please note, for changing this case, you don't have to explicitly run this code. This code, you don't have to run explicitly. Earlier, for all the subroutine, we used to run. Now you don't have to explicitly run. This automatically takes care of it. So when any change happens, it's automatic. You're not running it. Earlier, I used to go here and click the run. Now you don't have to do it, right? For any changes happening in the worksheet, it will automatically take care of this. Now, what happens when I'm using multiple? So if I paste it in multiple cells, it's actually giving me an error. That's because the target is a range. It's a multiple cells, and we are trying to change the case of multiple cells together, which is not possible, right? Now, how do we do that? How do we do for multiple cells? So basically, target is a range. So we have to iterate through each of the ranges in the target. So for each ranges in target, as I mentioned, it's case insensitive. You can write. So yeah, I'll explain this. So basically, target is a range, and somebody has asked what is by val. By val and by reference is in programming language, when you pass something to a function by val, you're actually passing the value of that target. So basically, when you are passing target inside this, you're actually passing the value. You can actually not alter it. It's not the reference that is being passed. So there's something called by ref, which is actually passing the reference. When we change the value, the reference, pass by values, pass by value and pass by reference. Yeah, that's more of a programming concept that you can actually refer Google. So yes, what happens here is for the target, when we okay, now let me try to copy this and paste it here. So when I paste it here, I'm passing these many different cells. So here I'm passing around 11 cells now for each range. So each cell is being iterated through here. So I can make it actually a cell. That makes more sense. For each cell in target, I'm going to change it to uppercase. Now let me try to put it. I'm trying to copy and paste it over here. Let me just put. So I'm just debugging it. I'm not sure why 𝐓𝐢𝐻 I put format. Local window. It's the address. So this is how you debug it. You can check the address here. So it's basically giving an address B11. Yeah, that's perfect. 𝐓𝐢𝐻 of cell, so it should be working. Okay, it's actually I can explain this what this is. I'm not sure why it's. All right. Okay. I'll just try to find it out. Anyway, I have a complete Excel to cover that. We'll discuss it then. Okay. Now I need to proceed with further. Yeah, I'll cover a little more concepts and then we can deal with it. So basically, you've got. I can just mention you've got all these different details. Worksheet change. So whenever you change a worksheet, something is changed in the worksheet. I'll just remove all this. Change in the worksheet, it gives target get equals UKs of target. Yeah, I've got that. Right. Then you've got selection change. So whenever there is a selection change, it becomes okay. I'll just comment it out for now. What's happening? Okay. Right. Okay. So I'll just try this out now. If I make a selection change, this actually gets invoked. Let's try this. I'm doing a selection change. I'm not sure. Selection change. I think something went wrong. Enable events true. All right. Yeah. So now I make a selection change. See, it gets invoked. So what happens is whenever I make a selection change in the Excel, if I select this cell, it actually will make it uppercase. So this is now lowercase. So yeah, got it. You can use this to comment it out. Yeah. So now I make a selection change. This will become capital letter. So that's a selection change. You've got double click before double click. So before you double click, if you want to execute something, so let's say I use before double click. Okay. Before double click. So before I double click, I want to give a message to the user. You're doing something wrong. You're doing something wrong. So I'm slowly covering everything. Message box, you can keep it in mind. Message box is to give a message to the user. So before I double click in each cell, it actually will tell you you're doing something wrong. So I'm going to double click here. You're doing something wrong. So it basically gives you a message that you're doing something wrong, right? So yeah, so that's what message box does. And then you've got different options. You can give a critical message by using VB critical. So it will basically so you're basically giving an error message with a red color, and then you can use a exclamation VB exclamation. So it'll give you an exclamation message. So it's different type of message boxes. VB okay only. It'll give okay only message. Okay and cancel if you want. You can include that also. So okay, how do you make selection change? Selection change is whenever you make a selection change. So this is a selection change. Anything you change is a selection change. And when you make a selection change, this gets invoked. Comment the code in one go. You can use this comment block. Select it and use a comment block. That's how you use it. Okay, right. Now I'll little bit explain on if, select case, etc. So you can Google it and it's pretty simple. I'll just write a subroutine check. So now we want to check a particular cell has my name or not, right? So basically I can check in this, right? Okay, so thing is like this. If any selection has, right, if any of the selection has my name, it should actually change the color. Let's try it out, right? So if target equals my name, then so that's how if works, and end if. So if condition, then end if, right? It's pretty simple. Then target dot integer dot color. I say color index. So there's something called color index also. So let's try now. You see that? So that's another thing, right? So yeah, so I've covered. So the same thing can be used. Select case and then a string, say target, and then select target, select. Why is it not? Expected case. I forgot the syntax. Let me just Google it. It's pretty hard to remember all the syntaxes. It's been a long time that I've. So you have actually got the Excel VBA documentation, as I mentioned, Microsoft itself, which will actually give you all the select case with examples. It will give you. So basically, it says select case number case. Okay, there's no colon required. Case Jithin, then do something. Case something else. Something. Do something. Then case else. Then ends with end select. So this is how is it possible to apply this for categories like these numbers. Yeah. So this is like you can use to basically convert it to numbers for categories, etc. So you can use a select case statement to convert it. So yeah, you get most of the syntaxes basically from the documentation. So now you don't have to remember and memorize everything. So it's like I use different programming languages and syntaxes are different. So it's pretty hard to remember each syntaxes when you shift between programming languages. So you actually have the data over there. Now I'll just show you a small application that I've created using small forms. Yeah, I'll just show you this bit. So this is a form that I've created for one of the client. Let's try to understand how it works. I just removed the logos and all the other details from it. So this is how the initial layout looks, and it has got two option buttons, order and quote. If I go to order, I can click on order and then click on input details. As you can see, there's no document that you can unhide. So click order and click on input details. It actually creates a set of new sheet, and you can enter the data in that. So these are all dummy data I filled in. So yeah, so basically you can select from the drop down. You can enter the data in the respective fields. It actually asks you to enter the data, and once you've entered the data, you can execute it or create a PDF out of it. Basically, when you click on this, it will generate a PDF. It is generated. Yeah. So it basically creates a PDF. So it's basically like you can create an invoice system. You can create type of forms in VBA. I can briefly show what I've done here. So it actually creates another Excel file as an order. If you want to create different Excel files out of a main order, then you can create how much order. You keep on creating orders. It create tabs. Yeah. So again, you can create codes. It'll create code in a different format. Then you can convert it to PDF. It will convert it to PDF. You can send it to the clients. So all these things. So basically invoicing, any quotation, all these things can be automatically generated using Excel. I can show you how it is done. I can just walk you through the code. No, it's a bit difficult on how to code all these things in a single session. Yeah, but I can walk you through the code. Before that, now let me just try to give some more details on how you can execute a code without going to Excel. So somebody was asking, how do you print this, right? Yeah. So how do you print this diagonally? So I'm going to use the same code. I'll go to view code and okay, so we don't have the code anymore. Okay, I'll create a new insert module, subroutine, diagonal numbers, no spaces. No spaces are allowed in the name of the subroutine. Then takes the n. I'll just put diam n as long, diam I as long for I equals 1 to n. Meet, okay, sheet 3, I think it's sheet 3, sheet 1. So that's basically sheet 2. Sheet 2 dot cells 1 comma 1, sorry, I comma I equals I, and then goes the next statement. So this will basically okay, n is equal to input box. These are all we have already explained how to create input box, enter n. Yeah, so that's done. Now if you run say 5, it will create diagonal 5, right? So that's clear. Now we are going back and forth to execute it. How do we execute it from here itself? What is a simple way to do it? There are multiple ways again. One, you can insert a shape like this, probably any shape you can, basically not necessarily this shape. You can create any different kind of shape and then go to right click, assign macro, and just select the macro which you want. We have created diagonal number, right? So we select that, say okay. So now this is assigned to that macro. Now when you click this, it'll ask, so basically it'll execute that macro. It'll ask for the number, you enter the number, it creates for 100 cells it creates, right? Right. So we have got the code here now. If I say 4, it's create only for 4. So that's one way of getting it done. The other way is go to developer tab and then go to insert. You've got form controls. So you can put a form control like button over here and then select the macro you want and you have it there. So it's like insert, form control, put a button, select the macro. Very straightforward. Now if you click that, you have it there. So you don't have to go back and forth once you have the macro. So that's how I've done it here. If you look at this one, you've got an input details here. That's a button actually created, which will actually execute that macro. And I've got buttons for all this, which will actually execute. This PDF will execute and create a PDF. Right. Yeah, as I mentioned, for sheet change, it is default. You don't have to click a button for sheet change. It's automatic. So for sheet change, if I'm going to sheet change, worksheet selection change, target equal to target plus 100, right? So what happens here? Whenever I make a selection change, it will increment by 100. So if I I'll just increase the size, right? So you don't have to execute using any macro code. It's automatic. You don't have to run it. Yeah. So selection change and worksheet change, you do not need a button. A button is required for executing particular subroutine. Now, let me try to do another thing. Now you got, I'll just copy this bit over here. How to check, so these are all can be done in Excel. I just want to show you in VBA, and these are all basic. You can take it to the next level when you want to do something. no, it's always good to start from the basics. So how to identify a male as a 0 and a female as a 1? Sorry, not gender discrimination. Okay, just numbers. Male as 0 and female as 1. You can use a for loop. Sorry, if condition within Excel. If this equals male, then 1, else 0, or 0, 1, right? And then you can drag it, you get it, right? So you use an if condition to get it done. Very simple. Now, what if you have something called is male or is female, and then select this, it'll give you 1 or 0. Will it be nice? Like, you want to get it in much more detail way, I would say, again, I'll explain in another way. So let's try to get this done. So I need a function equal to, if I put is female, and then if I select this, it should give me 0. And if it's a female, it should give me 1. So I want such a functionality to be there in Excel. You know VLOOKUP. If you type equal to and VLOOKUP, you've got VLOOKUP. I need a similar functionality. Okay. I'm not sure if you know this, but let's try this. 1, 2, 3, and I've got serial numbers up till this, and I've copied some of these names over here, right? And let's say these are the employee IDs. Okay, these are the employee IDs and these are the names, right? Pretty clear. Now, if I enter the employee ID here, you need the name here. How do we do that? Simple. VLOOKUP, lookup value these 2 columns, output need is 2, and that is what required. Now to beautify it, if nothing is there, I don't want an error. If error, then null. Simple. Got it done. Now if I put 3, I have the name Miss Lina. I hope everyone knows VLOOKUP, right? Now this is going to be tricky. Now let's say this is here. What to do now? If the name is there, I need the name here. You cannot do a VLOOKUP now. Okay, so what you can do is, it's an index match. You can Google it if you want to find it. It's basically an index match that we need to find. Index of this and match of lookup value in this as false. Set match, right? So you've got Lina. So now if I change it to 9, I've got Oscar, right? So this is actually not possible with VLOOKUP. The reason is, for VLOOKUP, the index value should be on the left side. If it's on the right side, you need an index match. Index match is actually a little bit tricky. You need to have a grasp of it, how to get it done. Now let's say if you have our own VLOOKUP. Yeah, Excel is good, yeah. But let's try to create our own VLOOKUP. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah. So we will try to do first this is female thing, and then we will try to do VLOOKUP thing, right? So for that, I'll just close all the other Excels. Just to clear, don't save. Right, okay. Now I've got this module, just clearing all the modules. Right, don't want anything in the sheets. Little bit of cleaning up. All right. Okay, now I'm going to create a function is female. What to do? Create a module. If you don't know how to create module, insert module. It'll create a module. Now create a function. I'm going to write a function is female, right? And it takes a range, R as range. And then what does it do? It'll just making it case insensitive. If case is female, then is female equals 1, else is female equals 0. And if, okay, let me explain this. I'm writing a function. This time, if you noted, I'm not writing the subroutine. It's a function. I started with a function, wrote the function name, and I'm going to pass a range inside. Okay. So basically, when you write equal to is female or is blank, let's take is blank, then it's actually a range that you're passing inside, right? So that's the range R. Now we are checking if the uppercase of R is female, then I'm changing the function value to be 1. Otherwise, I'm changing the function value to be 0. It's pretty simple. So I want to start with simple one. So now I've got this function ready. Let's try and see if the function is available here. So you can see our function is available in Excel now. Is female, select it, say enter, it gives you 0. How cool is that? Now you have your own function available in Excel. So you've got a pretty different number of functions available in Excel. Many functions available in Excel. So, and if all of these are not enough, you can create your own function using VBA. Now let's try to create this VLOOKUP, our own VLOOKUP. Okay. Yeah, but please note, this particular function that we create will be only valid for this particular Excel file. Now we are going to create our own VLOOKUP function, new VLOOKUP. Okay, we'll pass 2 ranges, R as range, R2 as range. So we pass 2 ranges, and sorry, 3 actually. We need number also. So we are passing a value and 2 ranges. We are going to look this value in R1 and then print out R2. Let's try this out. I have not tried it. Let's try this. So let's count. Count. For, okay, let me try this. For each R in R1, I'm going to check if R equals, well, I'll show a file which I have done, which is completely based on, this is completely based on worksheet change and some functions, keyboard functions. I can share this file. You can go through and understand the code. It's a long file. It's a pretty complex than one I have done, but it's more of fun sort of. So what is this? So if you click on any cell, so basically it gives you, yeah, it gives you the, it is actually giving you that I just removed some content. Yeah, so this is basically it gives you what to do. It gives you an instruction of how it is to be done or what is to be done. So it's actually built for Mac, but it works in both Excel, both Windows and Mac. So option right arrow is basically alt and right arrow. you can read this line which I've selected. Option right arrow is alt and right arrow. Option left arrow is alt and left arrow. You can see the coloring pattern also, right? So this is just for one client that I've made. So there are different coloring patterns that you can apply. So these are the coloring patterns. You can change it manually to different colors. So currently it is set like this. And I have some controllers also, which I'll come back. So the problem with VBA is if you execute a VBA code, it's not possible to undo it. There is no option to undo it. That is one big drawback of VBA. So once it is done, it is done. There's no undo. So if a file you're formatting and you've executed the code and then saved it, and you wanted to undo it, no way, you cannot do it. So that's one drawback of VBA. So I'll just show you what happens. If I click Alt and right arrow, it will actually move the entire cell to the right and give a different color. So if I move this one, Alt and right arrow, it will give a different color. And you can see even the borders are being adjusted. It changes the border. So basically this comes in one block, this comes in another block. So if I move this also, this actually goes to next block. Even you can move it back using Alt and left arrow. So it's basically code I've created in Excel which does all this. Yeah, I have the code here. So basically there's a worksheet change, there's a worksheet selection change, and there are quite a lot of code for going to the right, going to the left. So basically change the color to left to right. So there are different modules that I've written. I've done it pretty long back. So you can go through it. I can share this one if you want. You can go through it and understand what is it done. It's pretty simple. You can see. So any function that is available with, so somebody was asking this question, any function available within Excel, is it possible to access in VBA? So how do we access it in VBA? So to access any function within Excel, we use worksheet function. So worksheet function dot any function that is available in so most of the, not all of it, most of it is accessible after in worksheet function. So if you type worksheet function, just to show you, worksheet function dot, you can see most of it. There are a lot, count if max, you can see max, match, min. So most of it, count if, count blank, sum if, all those things you can find, some product. So most of the function which is available, you can use worksheet function dot and then use it. So that's what I've used, count here. You can see, so you can basically go through and understand this code. It's more on, it's nothing on data analytics, it's more on visualization, how you can present it in different format. So you can go through this and understand. So somebody was asking how to create dashboards and present the data. So usually how dashboards are created, how we create automatic dashboard is, I can just explain. I don't have a file to show you right now. Even if I have, it's more of the data that I use for the client, so I cannot share it here. How do we create a dashboard? I can just give you a glimpse of it, how it works usually. So there'll be a sheet called dashboard, right? And we create plenty of charts here based on background data. So there'll be a background data tab. So let's say there is the age, there's this country, there's this sales, and there's this profit, right? So basically we will have different countries with different sales. So we create a chart over here, a permanent chart that we are not going to change. And for that chart, we are going to use this data. When I say the data, there's no data in there, but we are going to use those cells to create the dashboards. So we are not going to create dashboards again and again. Only we are going to keep that particular permanent dashboard, and we are going to change the data background. So this data keeps on changing. Whenever our new data comes in, then the macro runs and the data is pulled in to this particular sheet. And when the data in this sheet changes, the dashboard actually automatically gets updated. You don't have to change the create new charts, delete new charts. So usually you can create charts using VBA, but usually that is not required. The background data, when it changes, the chart automatically gets changed. That's how Excel works. So when the data is deleted, the charts get updated accordingly. So that is one thing that we can use. And most of the time we use for data representation, giving reports, generating different reports out of the data, we use pivot table to a large extent. I hope it's already covered. So pivot table we use to a large extent, and we have got this. So when you create a pivot table, you've got the pivot chart associated with it. So whenever you change the table, the chart also gets updated. So what we do is you can actually change the pivot table selection. So how to do it? You create a pivot table using Excel and then try to record the macro. Then you can see what are the changes that is happening when you change a filter. And you can play with that recorded macro to change different fields, different filters, and that will actually create new charts. So when you create new charts, basically you can copy and paste it as a new picture. So basically to chart to a picture, you can copy and paste using VBA. You can simply Google it and find it out how to create chart to picture. So you filter out different pivot values, you get different charts, copy and paste it and create a dashboard. It's that simple. And you have this ability to integrate with different application as well. I'll just simply give you a glance, small, quick, I'll just create a subroutine test. Okay. Now what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to create a Word file out of it. Okay. So I'm just creating a Word file. So I'll say dim Word object, Word app as object. Okay. So I'm defining Word app as an object. Now I'm going to set that Word app. So yeah, so there are multiple ways to do it. You can go to, just note it down if you want, tools and references, and enable. If you scroll it down, you'll see Microsoft Word 16 library. You can enable this. Okay, now new Word dot application. So this actually will create an application. I already told you what is an application. Excel application is an application. So inside the application, there will be a document. Now, this will create an application, but what happens when it creates an application, you are actually not able to see. As a user, you are not able to see the application. If I run it, if I run this, so you can see there's no Word open here. If I run this one, it actually creates a Word application. It actually created a Word application, but can you see it? No, you cannot see it. If you go to Task Manager, I hope you know a little bit of our computers. So if you go to Task Manager and look at Word, WinWord, you can see the Word is open, but it's actually not visible to you, right? So I'm just trying to delete this. I'm basically trying to close that Excel Word file, that application that I've opened. I want to see that application. So what I do, so it's not visible because its visibility is not set. You can still work with no visibility. You can create document, you can close the document, you can save the document without even seeing it. Usually that's how we do it. Because you don't want the user to show that, okay, this is going to happen, this is happening, this is happening. Actually, everything should happen at the background. Now let me try to see if this is opening a Word file. So you see, it is creating a Word application and then making the visibility as 1. Now you can see the Word application, right? So that's how you create a Word application. Now I've created a Word application. I need to create, so it's just an application. There's no document in it. So I need to create a new document. So Word doc as, again, object. Now set. Every time you use a object, you have to use set statement. Set Word doc as new. Word app dot documents dot add. Let me try this. Yeah. So this actually will create a new document. Now you can see a document is open. So that's how you create a document. So basically, now what I've done, using an Excel VBA, I have created a Word document. Now what you can do, you can actually copy any chart you want and paste it in the Word document. That is one way you can do. And similar way, very similar way, you can actually, I'll just stop this and go to references. You can actually create a PowerPoint presentation. You can actually open an Outlook and then send an email. So basically, you can create a PowerPoint presentation. You can create a dashboard in Excel, copy the dashboard to PowerPoint, create a PowerPoint, and then open an email, attach that to PowerPoint, and send it in just single click. I can show you the PowerPoint is also there. If you go to Microsoft PowerPoint, so it's in alphabetical order. You can see the PowerPoint, you can see Microsoft Outlook. So, okay, I'll just create PPT app as new PowerPoint application. PPT app dot visible equals 1. I'll just comment out all this. I don't want to create. So this will actually create a new PowerPoint application. Look at this. An application is created. Now how to create a document? Same. PPT app dot presentations dot add. So it's pretty clear. So in Word it is document dot add. In presentation, in PPT it is presentation dot add. In Excel it is workbooks dot add. So this will actually create new PPT. See, you have got a new PPT. So now you create slides. You can create copy the charts into the PPT. You can create a different variety of PPT and then save it as a PPT or save it as PDF. Create an Outlook email. So that's also possible to create Outlook. You can just Google it. Everything is available online. Ready-made codes will be there to create an email from the Outlook. How to send an email from the Outlook. I'll just quickly show another thing I've done for web scraping, so that's also clear. And then we will go to user form. I'll just close this. Don't save. Yeah. Let me just open that. Not this. Right. This one. Not this. Okay. Work. Yeah. Right. I'll just close the other files. Titanic not required. Don't save. Don't save. Don't save. I just want to mess everything. Okay. So yeah, I've got one Excel file open. I'll just close all these unwanted things. I've got this little OCD thing. Yeah. Right. Now I'll just clear off this. This again I've created for one of my client, and I don't think there's any personal thing that I'm forwarding. Yeah, right. Okay. So I've got property details here. So what I'm trying to do is going to a particular site, giving this property detail and understanding if they have water bill detail in it. If it is there, I'm going to pull it to Excel, right? So, okay, I'll show you manually how it is done. Right, Titanic still open. Okay. Okay, here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to go to a particular site. This is the site. All right. You see the site now. I hope everyone can see the site. Now, there's this service address. I'm going to copy this address and paste it over there, and then click on Get Info. You have to click on Get Info. Once you click on Get Info, you get this bill amount and details. Is it clear to everyone what I'm trying to achieve? Yeah. I'm going to this website, putting the address, clicking Get Info, getting this information, putting it back to Excel, right? That is what is called web scraping. We are trying to do that. Okay. The thing is, the data from background is not available from this website, right? So I'm trying to, so this is a website publicly available to everyone, just trying to get particular details for this particular address, which I have. So I've got 5 addresses. I need to get the data. Now I am putting the visibility as 1 so that everyone can see what is happening behind, right? And now I'm clicking on extract web. You can see what's happening. Okay. You've got 5 addresses. You can have a glance at the numbers and addresses. And I'm going to click on extract. Keep watching. So it is going to create so it has opened an Explorer, Internet Explorer application. It is going to the web page. It's going to put the address in there. So basically I've given a question here. Do you want to start from the beginning? At times they want to start from particular number. So in this case, we'll say yes. So this is a message box that I've created. Do you want to start from the beginning? Say yes. So what happens is it puts the address over here automatically. You can see that. It'll automatically put the address, first address, clicks on the get info, goes to the next page, and then grabs the data. The website is slow. So that's the reason it's a bit. I'm not sure if it might crash if it's too slow. Pretty slow. It's not filling it. The website is really slow. Let me try to stop this. So control and post break is how you can stop the running macro. Not sure why it's too slow. I've got one more option where I've speed also. Let me try very slow. The website is not quite good. So it depends on the website that you use. If it's pretty good, like Amazon scrapping, it's pretty easy. But this is already available with me, so I thought I'll just show this. Okay, I have to give yes. Web scraping will be very advanced topic for us to learn. Yes, it is very advanced. So that's the reason I don't want to take it to that level. But I can obviously share this file and you can try to go through. But there are a lot of other, you can see plenty of details about. VBA is actually a pretty old. I mean, it's being used for a long time. So so I think now I'm getting the details over here. You can see the details being pulled. So basically the website is slow, so that's the reason it's taking time. And it pulls for all the values. So basically, since it's too slow, what I recommended my client is to run it overnight, get the data. It takes the equal amount of time if you're doing it manually also. You have to go inside, search, copy and paste, and there'll be an error if you copy paste somewhere else. You might miss some addresses if you have a lot of addresses. So yeah, but macros does it all for you. Just keep it overnight and get it done. So yeah, so that's another thing. Web scraping is very, very, it takes some time to understand. So basically, I wanted to cover it so that you know that it is also possible to get it done. I want to give you an idea that it works. You can actually do it. If somebody asks you, can you scrap this site? Yes, you can, but there are limitations. Excel VBA or VBA by itself works differently in Mac and Windows. Mac do not have, as you all know, Mac do not have so many other Microsoft applications like Internet Explorer. So you cannot integrate with Internet Explorer, and scrapping becomes difficult. You have to use app scripts to get it done. You can actually use app scripts and shell scripts within VBA. You can use shell command to get it done. So basically, you can use a shell script to do anything in a Windows computer. You can delete anything, you can create anything, you can actually shut down the system if you want. So you can do plenty of different things. And the same things can also be integrated to Excel VBA. Yeah, so if you want to shut down your system on a single click of a button in Excel, possible. Yes, it is. So yeah, you can do anything. And VBA is there from a long time when the Excel was there. So you can get a lot of content online. If you want to look at anything, if you're stuck anywhere, search it, you'll get the detail. It's available anywhere online. And yeah, there was a question, somebody was asking if it's mandatory to learn Excel VBA for a data analytics. I would say no. It's not mandatory to learn Excel VBA, but if you know, any organization uses Excel or any form of Excel. It can be Google Sheet, and again, Google Sheet works in a entire different manner. VBA do not work on Google Sheets. You need JavaScripts, Google App Scripts, Google Scripts for that. It's basically based on Java. So that's a different thing. Again, it has got similar capability like VBA, but most of the companies use Excel for any reporting. If you look at the middle management, higher management, they always use Excel and PPT for any presentation, any reporting, to give reports. So there's always some other automation that you can do in that area. But when it comes to data analytics, it's not important that you should know VBA, but that's always an add-on that you always don't have to go to Python and write a code to get it done, when you can do it with smaller code or smaller things in Excel. Obviously, when you have a large data set, then say if the question is asked the other way, I know VBA well, can I be a data analyst? It's a no, because the thing is, VBA and Excel has got a limitation of 1 million rows, and most of the times now the data is so big that it comes in very huge size. 1 million is nothing now. They call it small data set when it is 1 million. So yeah, so when it is more than 1 million, like 5 or 6 or 1600 million data, you cannot use Excel. So if you know only Excel VBA, you cannot actually go to that level. You should have understanding on R or Python or other things like maybe Tableau, Looker, Power BI, etc. if you want to go to a business intelligence data analysis side of it. And it's not, yeah, so this is done. I've got a message also done. So yeah, so it's not very important that you know Excel VBA, but you should at least have some grasp of how formulas work in Excel. I would say most of the things that you can do with VBA, you can try and do with formulas. Most of the things, I can show you an example if you want. Most of the things you can get it done using formulas, but then problem is there's a high chance of getting messed up. Before I wind up, I just one message. I'll just show you how the user form works, just to give you an understanding. What is a user form? What are the things that we can apply on it? And how does it work? To create a user form, go to Insert and User Form. User form is a form. You can create any table, any text box, anything on that. So basically, you have an option to put a label. You have an option to put text boxes, and you have radio buttons. You have toggle buttons. And you have got a frame. Then you've got the command buttons, and for each it has got its own name. For option button, it has got its own name. For toggle button, it has got its own name. Command button, it has got its own name. So what happens when you press command button? Double click on it, and you can write a code inside this. If you want to put it in a sheet, you can do that. So basically, me.textbox1, that will give you the textbox1 data. Now sheet1 dot cells of 1,1 equals to textbox1. So basically, when you click on this user form command button, that whatever you've entered on textbox1 will go to sheet1 cell 1,1. So it's pretty simple, but you can try different things. You can try an option button, clicking yes or no, and then putting it to the Excel file as a 1 or 0. So it's all similar thing, but it gives you a more feel good when it is a user form. And when you run it, you actually get it like this. So you can actually move it over the Excel file and try and enter the data in. So you can play around with it. I just want to give you an idea of how it works. User form is very, very widely used because it actually gives a feel of a real application rather than working on a cell. But similar to SPA. So basically, write anything, get the data. So basically, you have got the name. So this unique name is a game. So basically, you know the name, take the data from that particular name, textbox1.value, and then put it inside that. So again, you can do the other way around also. You can fill the text box with the sheet value also. You put the other way around like this. So yeah, so you can play around with it. You can get a feel of it. It's all pretty simple, nothing very complex. You can try it out. I'm sure anyone will have some or the other thing that you can automate. So how do we get the user form? Yeah, right click over here, insert user form. So that will create a user form. Okay, Excel is crashed. I'll show you once again. Alt F11, insert user form. You get the user form. Now, how to activate the user form? Go to create a new module, probably insert module, user form one.show will show the user form. Now subroutine test. Now we'll put it inside that. So now this will show the user form. I'll just create a very simple one, very simple one. Create a text box, create a command button. Yeah, when I click the command button, it should go to sheet 1 dot cells of 1,1 equal to text box 1 me dot. So me dot, because we are writing within the user form, me dot text box 1 dot value. So yeah, that will, and then I can write unload me. Unload me would close the user form. Now that we have two things, one is this subroutine, test subroutine, which will actually show the user form. And when we click on the command button, it will unload the user form. Now create a button, insert any shape. I'll just say some random shape. Yeah, some random shape, right? Some random shape, right click, assign macro, test, say edit. Sorry, yeah, we have done. Assign macro, say okay. Now click on it. Assign macro. Okay. Now click on it. You get the user form. Type something and then click command button. You got it in the sheet. I hope it's clear. Pretty simple one, but working. So right click, insert user form will create this user form. Once you have the user form, you can go to toolbox. So if the toolbox is not available, it is in view toolbox. You'll see the toolbox, and then just click and drag whatever you want. Click and place it wherever you want, and then click and press the button. Yeah. And each button has its own name. Each text box has its own name. And go to command button, tell what it is to be done, and then finally write unload me so that the form gets closed after you click on command button 1. Test, command button 1 gives test here. I hope it's clear.